There is a very serious problem in the US today, one which is constantly ignored. Even as the financial crisis nearly wiped out all of the banks and investment institutions, everyone turned a blind eye to the one underlying cause: debt. Debt is the system of control of the bankers. They use it to magnify these crises. Every single crash gets worse and worse, only to be propped up with more debt. Corporate debt, national debt, personal debt, collateralized debt, obligation investments. It's a disaster waiting to happen. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at debt. I want to talk about interest rates. I want to talk about mortgages. We're going to focus on the United States today, but this plays out all around the world. Let's begin by taking a look at this out of the AP. Americans take out roughly $50 billion in payday loans per year. This is an issue that I regularly bring up on the channel. I know that it is very important, and that's why I'm always trying to dig up information on this. When you think about the scale of debt, not just payday loans, but it is magnifying every single year on average. It's getting worse and worse. There are always new creations that are being thought up by those in the financial industry. How can we get people to borrow more money? This is what they do. They have a mortgage, but there are different businesses which will do these payday loans, cash advance. Maybe you've got them in your city, cash money, payday advance company, whatever it might be called, okay? They're there. They offer a service for those in need. It's certainly good because if you needed money, nobody's around to give it to you. I understand. Okay? They provide a service. They charge a high interest rate. There's a reason why they charge that interest rate. And this is just becoming the norm now. People push themselves to the edge. They get there. And what do? They're desperate. They take out one of these loans. The only problem here is not that desperate times, desperate measures. Okay, because I'm sure most people have gotten to a point where money's been tight. And so they need something. Maybe they borrow from their family, but those who don't have a family or friends or anything to borrow from, they can use one of these services, get the money. But the problem, just like with credit cards, just like with everything else, it's that it comes time to pay the bill and you don't have the money. They decided to make a deal with Walmart, all right? Now they're together. And they offer the service to their employees as part of their, quote, benefits package, along with providing tools that allow employees to track their spending of money. All right, sure. They have this thing called InstaPay, okay, as part of this. Allows users to take advance some of their next paycheck up to 13 days before payday. 13 days before. So you get paid. One day later, your money's all gone. You spent it all. And you can then get a payday advance. The interesting thing is that because it's tapping into their already accumulated hours, they don't charge the employee interest on the advance. All right, so what is the benefit here? Now, I don't know if Even made a deal with Walmart and said, look, we'll give you some money and this and that, back and forth. What I think could be the reason that this is happening is that an individual who's getting in this far debt, who's requiring that payday loan literally a day after getting paid, is a person who at the end of that 13-day period is going to need to borrow more. And then that's when they start making money. So they got you in for that free period. It's like a trial. And then 13 days in, you need some more money. Now you're getting charged for it. So this is interesting. There's more details in here if you want to read about it for yourself. But essentially, this is what I see. Individuals are in more debt than ever before. And it's not just the payday loans. As I mentioned, I wanted to get into others as well. Many potential home buyers are sitting out of the housing market. The volume of mortgage applications last week fell to the lowest level since 2014. The decline was led by a 5% drop-off in purchase applications to a nearly 2-year low. All right, it goes on. This shows us here that we have seen the sheer level of debt that people are in, and for some people, they can't go any further. They're at the absolute maximum. When you're in that payday loan level, that's it. You've maxed out. You're not going to max out your credit card any further. They may not give you any more debt. You can't take out any more. You're not going to get a mortgage. You're pushed to the max. And this is what's happening to not just some people, but it's happening to a growing number of people, even though the stock market has been rising for nearly a decade. We have seen the prosperity in the news. Look at the news. It's so wonderful. It's so great. Look how everything is just floating in the sky on cloud 9. There's butterflies and rainbows. Or you can come back to reality and see the true reasons that all of this is happening today. There's a reason why we have so many tent cities. It's not just because some people made bad choices. That happens. That absolutely does happen. But you don't get it at this level because of a few bad choices made by a few people. All right? That's always going to be the case. You're always going to have people in the streets. That's going to happen. But not this many. All right? The rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage, the most common home loan among buyers, hit 5.15% last week, the highest level in more than 8 years. That is huge. I'm going to cover that more in a second. I wanted to touch on this because we're also looking at the stock market. Now, when I look at the stock market, a lot of people buy on margin. This is a big mistake. When you get that margin call, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Wells Fargo, residential mortgage applications. This is the data that I was referring to earlier. You could see where it has gone. 30-year mortgage rate, 5.15%. This actually surprised me when I saw this statistic here. I didn't think it would go up to this level that fast. I mean, it could certainly turn around in a month. Who knows? It can go down under 5%. But we see the trend, definitely. I'm watching this very carefully, and I will bring you updates. This just shows us that people right now are so far into debt, and yet we're going to see it get worse and worse and worse because interest rates are rising. U.S. mortgage applications, other than this little blip that you can see here on the screen in 2014, right at the end of 2014, other than that, we've actually never seen it this bad since the year 2000. That shows us extreme weakness right now in the real estate market in the United States. And this is the LIBOR rate. LIBOR, the 3-month is like the generic one, the one that's most often used. This here is risen to levels we haven't seen since the financial crisis. It keeps getting worse, higher and higher and higher. It's only at 2.59 essentially, which is still relatively low compared to what was experienced a few years ago. But we're back to that level. We need to remember that this was basically at the ground for years. And ever since the Federal Reserve started increasing, the LIBOR started increasing at the same time. And it's been ratcheting up further and further. And, you kind of have a problem when there's over $370 trillion worth of assets tied into the LIBOR rate. Yeah, you got a problem when the interest rates are increasing. Now, this right here is the CEO of Blackrock. Okay, we're talking about some of the biggest companies in the world. They are coming out talking about the problems we are experiencing today. The problem is we are living with a deficit that is very large. We are fighting with our creditors right now worldwide. Generally, when you fight with your banker, it's not a good outcome. I wouldn't recommend you fight with your lenders, and we're fighting with our lenders. 40%, check this out, 40% of the U.S. deficit is funded by external factors. No other country has that. Now think about that for a second, and I want you to understand that you cannot be big and powerful forever. This here shows the history of the world reserve currencies. It doesn't last forever. Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, France, Britain And then America. You cannot have an empire forever. Every empire eventually fades away or evaporates into dust. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps to support the channel. So I do appreciate that very much. And last but not least, if you're interested in this video, then I know that you will find interest in my 2 books. I talk about everything you need to know, from reserve currencies. I talk about oil. I talk about everything in these 2. Check them out. Link is in the description of the video. If you're more interested in the audiobook version instead, well, you can get that at themoneygps.com.